I've got to say this. It's annoying that I even have to say this, not to fulfill the cliche and go on about that and suggest that the meme is inherently true, because I don't think it is. But there are, of course, vegans out there that overemphasizing protein. I want to stress here, protein is really important. I've got to say this. It's annoying that I even have to say this. Protein is absolutely crucial for muscle and tissue growth and repair. But my problem here is, that's not my qualm. My qualm here is, if you went on Instagram, even the vegan plant-based section of Instagram, you'd think that protein was some kind of sacred macronutrient. Because on Instagram now, we've got a wrath, and I love a lot of these folks, I want to make clear, and I agree with them on 98% of their advice. But we've got a whole wrath now, a whole plethora of sort of gym bros coming to veganism and just going on and on about protein. And what gym bros, I love them, I used to be one. But what gym bros are very, very capable of doing, sadly, I feel at times, is projecting their absolute obsession with building muscle onto everyday people that don't want to build muscle, and going on and on about protein and on about lifting weights and on about progressive overload to people that would be very, very happy just jumping on a treadmill every now and again, doing a bit of cardio, maybe doing some push-ups, maybe doing some squats and whatnot, but not necessarily being an all-out gym bro. And so, yeah, I mean, it's definitely fair to say, on the other hand, that there are vegans under-eating protein, not to fulfill the cliche and go on about that, and suggest that the meme is inherently true, because I don't think it is. But there are, of course, vegans out there that under-eat protein. But what I'm saying here is that I feel, personally, the emphasis on protein online is disproportionate to the number of vegans that are actually under-eating on a protein front. Does that make sense? Just my 2 cents. And now, again, if you have strength, muscle building goals, if you're breastfeeding perhaps, protein does need to be emphasized. But given that you're in my audience, on the balance of probability, given that you're in my audience and you know that I specialize in just straight up weight loss, no muscle building stuff, I'm assuming this isn't the case for you. I'm assuming you don't need to particularly emphasize protein. And in which case, the question of how much protein do I actually need then, because that's always the follow-up question to what I'm sharing here, my belief is that you're looking at a range of between 0.7 grams and 1 gram per kilo of protein per kilo of body weight per day. So let's say you are, to make the math simple for me, because I'm sadly not that intelligent when it comes to calculations and maths on the spot in my head, but let's say you're 100 kilograms, you are looking at a range of 70 grams of protein per day to 100 grams of protein per day. Now, this is actually reasonably achievable if you have a decent source of protein with every meal, or at least most meals every day, and maybe some of your snacks every day. You'll be just fine. You'll be in this ballpark without too much emphasis, too much thought about it. And so long as you're not generally, as I shared in the previous point, under-eating hugely on your calories, you're not going to have too hard a time getting enough protein as an average Joe. Now, average Joe, it sounds slightly condescending. When I say average Joe, I mean somebody that isn't, doesn't have insane muscle building ambitions, or even slight muscle building ambitions. The average person, again, I don't mean average in a condescending way, I just literally mean average, in other words, in the norm, the normal person looking to just lose a little bit of weight here, like is in my audience, not necessarily looking to do a bunch of strength training or, get that fat neck or the big pecs or anything like that, you're going to be absolutely fine with 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per kilo of body weight per day. And like I say, you can easily achieve that with a decent source of protein with every meal, or at least most of your meals. Now, when I talk about protein, there is also, in my mind at least, follow-up questions that pop into my head about amino acids. And amino acids are important to think about on a vegan plant-based diet. And how they combine, I think, is very, very important. But that's a can of worms I'm not going to open here, and I've been thinking for some time anyway, so maybe this video is my prompt, this topic is my prompt, but I've been thinking for some time anyway to make a short video on amino acids and just ensuring that your amino acid profile is appropriate, separate to your protein intake. So I'll make that video on the near future. Let's not open that can of worms here. Once more, if you are the exception to most of my content here, you are an outlier in my audience, and you do, for whatever reason, whether it's related to your nutrition requirements or based on your goals, if you do indeed require higher protein intake than what I've just advised, I think seitan is my best advice, my top source of protein for you in particular, because it's incredibly lean, very few calories, as a result of having very low fat for a very high protein content. Tofu and tempeh is brilliant, but I think seitan isn't necessarily something I've talked about an awful lot on my channel here, and so I think it deserves, rightly so, a little shout out. If you found the information in this video helpful, but you need that next level of instruction, support, and accountability to number 1, lose weight, number 2, learn how to easily keep it off this time round, and number 3, create healthy habits for life, click the link below. I'll tell you more about how I've helped over 300 men and women lose 10, 20, 30 or more pounds with simple plant-based meals without having to count or track their calories and with gentle exercise only. Click the link below this video.